Welcome to Wild and Exposed, your number one adventure, nature, and outdoor photography podcast. Wild and Exposed is hosted by Michael Mauro, Ron Hayes, Jason Loftus, and Mark Raycroft. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome to another episode of Wild and Exposed. This week's show features Michael Mauro coming to us from Colorado, the Rocky Mountain country, and Jason Loftus from beautiful Utah, and myself, Mark Raycroft from cold Ontario, Canada. How are you guys doing?
Well, it's cold Colorado too, but probably not as cold as you are.
You're going to catch me here. Yeah, this winter has been crazy warm. We're Canada, aka North Carolina, this year. We haven't
you guys
plowed
have
the
any
driveway
snow?
once.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got maybe an inch and a half of snow just covering the ground.
Right
It's
now,
warm.
but has it snowed a lot, or is it just an infrequent kind of thing?
No, it has been, like I said, we haven't plowed the driveway once this year, and we have a cold snap coming for about 6 days, and it's still only really not nearly as cold as it normally gets for a cold snap. So again, we're going to jump between the Celsius and Fahrenheit, but we're looking at lows of minus 15 at night, whereas minus 30 would be cold at night. And it's been above freezing. So no matter whether it's Celsius or Fahrenheit, or above freezing throughout this whole month, pretty well, daytime highs. So, and after this cold snap of the next 5 or 6 days, it's going above freezing every day again. So seriously.
So you've been out doing a lot of this antler falling off, trying to capture that behavior. Do you think that this temperature affects any of that, or do you not notice a difference?
It can a little bit, but I really don't want to talk about that today. I don't want to talk about that subject, because as much fun as I had recording the last podcast, the day that I didn't go looking for a certain buck,
the
next day both. I went out and he's baldy. It's like, So I got some video of the pedestals, the exposed pedestals, and him shivering. It's interesting, when they drop their antlers with that disc space open, inch and a half, 2 on a big guy maybe. Until that seals up, that's got to lose a lot of heat. And I've seen that with bucks where they, for a day or two, it's like, you're okay, right, buddy? They're like kind of shivering, but then it's fine. Things seal. And I have seen bucks still carrying antlers, but yeah, that happened the other day. But with one of the ones, only 2 or 3 in this one area where I've been going that I've been trying to time. Weather or cold temperatures can stress an animal enough that if it's many days of super frigid weather or temperature, I think it can speed it up a little bit, but it's mostly age, health, physical condition, and testosterone levels, which, as we covered a bit in the last podcast, they drop. More mature animals breed more in the fall, exert more energy, so their testosterone levels drop faster. Here's an interesting spin. From a biologist scientific perspective, all the years I've been photographing in different areas, and as all nature photographers know, we have places we go to. Some are national parks, some are public access, some are private. And there's situations where we do a lot of research and we find places where, for whitetails, now it's a lot around cities and stuff too, right? They're urban areas where they become populated and they get some tolerance of people. They see people. They don't necessarily like people walking their dogs, but they see people. So it gives us the opportunity to get closer, to get images. And that also allows me to get to know deer year to year in places. So I keep a record of when they drop their antlers. For the ones that survive from one year to the next, anything can happen. They get hit by a car, they get eaten by a coyote or a wolf, they break a leg, they get jabbed by another animal in the rut by an antler, they die. But if they survive, if I'm lucky enough to be in the field and see the day they die, obviously, or not die, their antlers die off, their antlers fall off. And I can tell because from one day to the next, they're gone. Or it might be, over 2 or 3 days, they're gone. Most shed within the 24 hours, but some can hold a second antler for a few days. But I keep a record. And the buck that shed the day we were doing the last podcast, I've been able to write him down for the last 5 years. And I didn't even look at these dates when we did the podcast. Out of the 5 years,
I'm guessing what you're going to say. Go for it.
he has dropped his antlers on 3 of the 5 years that exact day.
Really?
And two of the years, it was a week later. So it was January 16th, 3 times, and January 24th, twice. So,
Wow.
But this is just one buck. After filming whitetails passionately for 25 years, I have quite a collection of information, and it's astonishing how many drop. I'd say half the time of all my records, 50% of them are the exact day they drop.
Wow.
Year to year.
That's amazing. I've never heard that before, and that you have the perfect study going on to figure that out.
Well, I've spent a lot of time with deer. They've been my number one since I was a kid, right? And accessibility, where I live in Ontario, we have moose here, but white-tailed deer have small home ranges. Moose do seasonally, but they can shift. They can go on a walkabout. Deer don't tend to do that once they're mature.
Right.
So a yearling buck, I immerse myself in white-tailed deer biology, studying them. A yearling buck will disperse most often from its matriarchal home range to establish another place to disperse the gene pool. It might be a mile away, it might be 5 miles away. Not a huge distance, but out of sight, gone. And they might cruise through in the rut, but they move off. But once they settle in that place, without some kind of disturbance, like the land gets developed or too much pressure from something or other, they tend to hang out there because they find a place that has the resources. They've got a safe area for daybed. They've got a water source. They've got food source, and they adopt a lifestyle in that place. So you can kind of get dialed in on them, and it's not a guarantee. They're wild animals. You may not see, even in an area like this, and some of the places I go to, you may not see an animal for a week, but he's in there, right? They disappear. They're bedded behind a tree. You can end up going past them at 40 yards and not knowing. Coming back 15 minutes later, and there he's standing in the same, it's a pretty cool thing about wildlife photography behavior that way. But you can study them in that respect and collect some of that. So years ago, I just started writing things down like that. So I didn't expect that to be the result, but I should not have been podcasting on January 16th.
So, Jason, you take care of the calendar for Wild and Exposed. Can you just mark out January 16th for the next 5 years so that we don't mess up Mark's schedule?
Absolutely. Yes, it's done.
And then secondly, you are the mule deer nut. So can you start this study with mule deer so that we can have a little knowledge on that? So
been working on it. Actually, there's a lot of carryover in truth with the mule deer too. I don't think they're very much different when it comes to that. I've heard very similar results from mule deer, and not personally watched bucks drop, but know for a fact that I've seen multiple bucks, in a very controlled area that shed within a week each year. It seems like Mark was saying. And I would bet if I was able to be in the field enough at that time to see it, it would probably be multiple ones that would shed on the exact same day. I wouldn't be surprised. But it's kind of cool. Pretty neat.
Yeah,
I don't know if moose are the same way, but I can't imagine that any of the, antlered critters are much different, to be honest. But
it'd be interesting. The person to talk to about that would be Ryan Miller up there in Alaska, or AK Scenic. He follows him pretty good. Oh, Vic. Oh, yeah, I wonder how much Vic actually got out that time of year.
Oh, that time of the year, right on. Yeah, maybe not.
Surely he did, but I don't know.
I'd blow on the dice and roll and say that they do. I think they'd all be similar.
Yeah.
That, that animal, given it's healthy, and once it's fully mature, for that 5-year window, will drop, fairly closely to that day.
Yeah.
There was once I can go on, I could take up a whole podcast. There was a mature buck who's been dead for a decade, but I photographed him from a yearling for 10 years. And it was in a public park place, access. But he would drop his antlers the second week of December before everybody. And he was a magnificent animal, but so early, like a month early. And there's still rutting behavior going on. There's still the second rut where they'll cycle through 28 days later, does that for whatever reason aren't bred, or 40% of the Dauphins can come into heat that year and be bred. He's out of that game, and he would drop them. And there was one time I saw him, it was, I think, December 10th, his antlers are dropped, and he was just totally, and a small 8-pointer came into the field and just drove him off. It was done, right? So it's interesting stuff.
But
Ron
if a deer like that live for 10 years, that's a long life for a deer, right? So maybe that was just a survival mechanism. Just to not have to deal with that. You get rid of them early, you don't have to deal with that extra energy. Well, I don't even know. I mean, how much energy do they put out having it? But I'm sure if he was still in the rut mode, he'd be getting weaker and weaker.
Yeah, there's a debate to be had there, and it goes back to our last podcast too. When you think about that, the whole evolutionary biology belief behind it is it saves the energy during the harsh winter months. Mm-hmm. Horned animals like bighorn sheep and Dall sheep don't do it. Those are heavy. But these antlered animals do shed every year. But why do some? It makes sense that caribou and moose shed earlier in December because they have heavier headgear. Mind you, they're bigger animals, so they should be able to handle it. Deer, both muleys and whitetails, through January into February. But what breaks this idea or stops us on it is why are elk holding them until March and then start right away? Why would they're not saving the weight over most of the winter?
Yeah.
Is it because, okay, here it is. Sorry. I'm thinking as I go. Elk, they do inhabit areas with harsh winter conditions, the northern Rockies in Alberta and northern British Columbia, and they're even into the southern Yukon, but they're maybe not as northern a species as moose and caribou, evolutionarily, right? Because they're all the way into New Mexico.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe winter's not as big a deal for most of the population.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with I don't know. This is just way out on a limb. I don't even know if I want to say it now. But maybe it has something to do with the not just for their breeding rights, right? It's also a way to protect themselves too. And maybe that helps them because they're a favorite meal source for a certain predator, right? And maybe that's one of the reasons they've hold on to them longer during the deep snow. I don't know.
They can use it, but I don't want to. Well,
it's a lot of speculation.
Then why deer, right? Deer will drop them, and then all they have are their hooves to protect from wolves and coyotes in the winter, right? Yeah. So if it was a protectionary thing, I think they'd all hold
on to them. That's true.
Yeah. Maybe elk just know more people want
them. You got to earn them, baby.
So Ron's going to be happy that we got into antlers and moose and elk and everything already. It's out of the way for this podcast, buddy. Sorry you're not with us today. We'll catch you next time, no doubt. This week's show, we're going to dive into a bunch of pro tips and some listener questions that we're going to pick up on as well that have been sent in to us that we appreciate all the time. So I don't know. Also, there's actually a couple other things before we get into the pro tips. Yeah, I don't know. We didn't talk about this before, and we talked about one of them, but not the other. We catch up on stuff. Jason, you've been in the field, and something on a previous podcast, a bucket list opportunity, happened.
Yes.
It was a podcast with Tim, right? Was it the
Flip the Script? Yeah.
Flip the Script, first podcast of the year.
Yep.
What your dream shot or the next thing on your bucket list would be?
Yeah. I was trying to get after some bobcats, and I'd had a lot of close encounters. I think I mentioned on there, and I'd seen them, but I've never really been able to get good images and or any images for that matter, really. But I was finally able to cross that off the bucket list there. So obviously, it's never good enough, and I need way more and all that good stuff. But yeah, very cool. It was very cool to finally get to connect with a willing participating bobcat that was willing to pose for me. So pretty exciting. I have to watch my page and see. I should be posting one soon here. So
it's funny. Bobcats aren't quite like lynx. It seems like lynx are way more curious. Bobcats are curious and they'll stop for a little bit, but it's not like, I've had lynx where they'll shimmy off into the bushes, but if you just hang tight, chances are that thing's going to come back out and check some stuff out, or not be running off in some direction. You know, if you go slowly off towards in that direction, you might catch up to them 50 yards later. But bobcats I've seen them several times, and you think, oh, okay, there's a chance, but it's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not easy, and it's, you know, you really got to commit. It's just with like any other critter, right? You really got to kind of commit yourself to it and put yourself in the right position, the right location, and hope a whole bunch of things come together. And that's, you know, that's kind of what I finally been doing, and it worked out. So I got pretty lucky too, for sure. But
so were you able to shoot what, 15, 20,000 images?
Not quite that many, but those they didn't last that long. I wish it lasted that long, but
and of course you had beautiful sunrise or sunset behind it, and
yeah, right,
wide landscape.
I don't know if y'all know, but I kind of like dark background stuff, so I was able to get some pretty cool lighting conditions that were pretty exciting. We'll have to see how they turn out, but yeah, it was some good light. You know, not the best scenery, but still very tickled pink to have had the encounter and had to get, you know, got some pretty good up close, full frame type images. So exciting.
That's cool.
So no pressure on Tim Irvin, but since Jason got his, some point this year, Tim, I'm looking forward to the Wolverine encounter. Just saying.
Right. No pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know.
Well, I can't wait to see those. So you haven't edited them yet?
Yeah, I've got a couple edited up. Like I said, I think I'll be posting one late January when I get one posted up here for you guys. But awesome. Exciting. Yeah, I could even send you to a sneak peek, and you can, you know, tear it up and tell me what I need to do different. So
I think it'll be a bunch of high fives.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't ever see doing that, man. Not to you, for sure. So the other bit of news is fresh today. Our good buddy and co-host Michael Mauro, we have talked about this for years and years, and he has always wanted a sprinter van to travel in that's all custom decked out for the wildlife photography dream touring vehicle. Well, people, today was the day. Michael Mauro got his first sprinter van, and it's a sweet rig.
It is pretty sweet. I gotta tell, I've been looking at these things it all started like probably 20 years ago when I was able to do a trip in Alaska in a Westphalia camper van. And you realize how comfortable it is because you got your food, you got your water, you got a bed, you just pull over wherever you're at, and it's not a lot of work, you know, as far as getting a camp set up and that sort of thing. So for years, I have buddies that'll they'll see a Westphalia for sale sign on the side of a parking lot somewhere, and they'll send me a picture and it'll be like, oh, you should check that out. And then of course it evolved from the VW vans to then it had sportsmobile vans, which were the big Ford four-wheel drive things. And that, you know, of course you get hot on that. And then the Sprinters came out and that was all the rage. So I've been looking, but they're so expensive, and it's like, how do you? And then I would love to build one out the way you wanted it, but the time that takes. I mean, I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, and these guys spend, if they're doing a do-it-yourself kind of build-out, if they buy just a hollow van, most of these people are spending a year to build it out the way they want. You know, planning it, figuring out your electrical, figuring out how you want the configuration inside. Do you want a bathroom? Do you want a shower? You know, what's the deal? And I looked at some when COVID first happened last year. You know, we were all kind of stuck at home. So I was like, oh, well, I wasn't out shooting, and I was just sitting around because we all were. We all didn't kind of know what was going to go on, right? So I got on Craigslist and I started looking in Denver, and I found a couple, but one was $180,000 for a Sprinter van.
So sweet, probably, though.
I'm guessing. I saw pictures of it. I was like, I'm not even going to go look at that thing because I'd just be wasting that person's time because I don't have. I mean, it'd be great to go see it for ideas and stuff, but that kind of money it's way out of my league. So over the course of since then, I've just been looking. And the other morning, I woke up at 5:30 and I couldn't sleep. So I just picked up my phone and I was like, I'll just flip through Craigslist here. and one came up that was reasonably priced. And I was like, wow, I'm just going to kind of shoot this guy a message and just see. I didn't have high hopes, and I sent him a message, and I was kind of excited, but then I was like, it's just something's wrong. This was just way too good to be true. The price was just set up where it was like, So I sent it, and then I promptly forgot about it, right? And then I got up to my office, and I'm just working away on podcasts, and I was like, man, that guy never texted me back. And I was kind of bummed out a little bit. Like, well, it must have sold already, or I didn't, maybe it'd been on there for a few days. But it did, how Craigslist will say, this was just posted in the last 12 hours. So I knew it was a fairly fresh post. So just for kicks, I went back to my email that I sent to him, and I looked at the phone number that I sent him, and I put in the wrong phone number. I missed one digit wrong, so I'm doing it at night. I'm barely awake, or 5:30 in the morning. And instead of a 3, I put in a 2, and I'm like, I probably just missed the whole deal just because I can't type. So I quickly fixed it and sent it, and he got right back to me immediately. He's like, yeah, I'll meet you today if you want to check it out. You're the first person. So I went and checked it out, and it worked out. He had built it. He built it with the intentions of using it for skiing. He was going to go, so it's kind of like a 4-season, so it's all insulated inside. It's got a heater inside, all that jazz that they put in those things nowadays. And then his dad got cancer. So he's like, what? I got to focus on this, and I got to get my dad better. And, he's having to drive him to chemotherapy and that sort of thing. So he's like, what? I'm just going to sell this and focus on that. So nothing in it's been used. The fridge is brand new. The sink is brand new. Everything. It's got one of those composting toilets inside of it. So there's no bathroom or there's no shower, but it's got like an outside shower. So you could just open the door and pull the nozzle out and just shower outside, which most times of the year that would be fine. A lot of times you just need to rinse off and maybe wash your hair every 2 or 3 or 4 days, right? Just to get the feeling back.
Remember the show you're the host of here, right? Okay. Yep.
Right,
yep.
right, right. So everything in is brand new. So it worked out really well, and it was a good price. And so I decided, what the heck? I mean, just for financial reasons, tax reasons, here lately, we've been talking a lot about all the YouTube that I've been watching. Well, some of the YouTube that I've been watching is a lot of this financial stuff. And there's a lot of these young kids that are like YouTube millionaires or TikTok millionaires or just really responsible young people that are really into finance. And so I like watching that kind of stuff and keeping up with it. And one of the things that came up over the last, couple of months that I've been watching, and I knew about this a long time ago, but if you buy a vehicle that's over 6,000 pounds in the U.S., you can write off 100% of that vehicle the first year, if you want to, or you can spread it out. And I'm not even sure how I can spread it. I did call my accountant. I'm like, hey, so if I buy this, can I write this off? He's like, yep. So that made it a little bit easier decision too, because then it kind of, it'll offset some of that cost. Because you look at how much I paid in tax last year, and I'm paid enough that I'm like, man, that could have went to a truck and not to the whatever. So that helped me along in the decision making too. But it should be the ultimate photo vehicle. It's not 4-wheel drive. That's the only thing I didn't get that I kind of thought would be cool. But you guys know, how many places do we go where we actually are 4-wheeling? There's not a lot. There's a few places where, like Jason, when we went and did the lizards last year, there's a couple of roads that we were on that were, I think this thing could do it. The problem with the ones that aren't 4-wheel drive is there's not a lot of ground clearance.
Yeah.
And this one happens to be the extended one. So they make they make a little shorty. I think it's a 144. And then they make one they call the 170. And I think it's just a 170-inch wheelbase. I haven't done enough research on that. So it's a little long. So I think if you got into some dips or some stuff where you'd be fine. Like last year you had your Subaru, and your Subaru did fine, but it's a shorter vehicle. So
there was some dips on those roads. There was some dips on those roads where you wouldn't get through with like a Sprinter van or something. Yeah. But it's very rare. Very
Yeah,
rare.
that's what I thought. You know, in those situations, I'll just walk. You know, I could just park and walk. Yeah, or I take my bike. That was the other
Your
thing
e-bike.
too.
That's what I was gonna say. Bike rack on the back, e-bike. You're golden.
Well, and I love riding so much for exercise, so that's kind of my thing. And that was one of those things where you can put it. It's got. If you watch enough of these videos, I mean, they've got the van life thing is huge, right? Everybody's checking into it, and they have, this is my front room, and this is my kitchen, and this is my living room, and this is my bedroom. Well, they actually call a part of the truck a garage. This is my garage, and it's usually underneath the bed in the back. That's where they store whatever the person's into. You watch a lot of them, they store snowboards or this surfboards or whatever, stuff like that. And then a lot of people store their bikes. So at this one, you could put your bike right in the back and then, you know, get it in and out pretty quickly. And as long as you had a small enough camera rig to throw in a backpack, you could be on your way. You know, so much of the stuff I do in Alaska is on a bike. So you just get used to it. You have a little rack on the back, and I strap my tripod to it, and then wear a backpack with all my camera gear, and away you go. You know, and that just gets you to the place where you want to start hiking. But it saves you, you know, at least an hour in the morning getting to the spot where it starts to get good. So I just thought about it, and I was like, you know, a lot of the stuff we've done in Canada, you know, it's not like you're out on a 4-wheel drive road, or it's generally a paved road or a gravel road. And basically, or, you know, when I drove to Alaska a couple of years ago, a Sprinter van would have been awesome because there's so many. I mean, I didn't run into very many cars. You know, you just don't on that highway up there. And it's so easy to pull off the road in a little pull off, spend the night, and away you go. So this should be the perfect truck for that. So I'm going to have to find one for, Mark was pretty excited about it. More excited than me, I thought. But I'm going to have to find one for you now, Mark.
It's yeah, they're awesome. I mean, just the time we've talked about it, and you go back to the podcast, go back to that Alaska one. I think it was 2 or 3 episodes where you and Missy recorded the whole trip up, the drive on what you did going to Alaska. That was super cool. But, and another thing this reminds me of, so the lifestyle choice that people make when they go and do something like this, traditionally it was like a bigger RV, a Winnebago, stuff like that. And they're not fuel efficient. And you can do so much more easily with a Sprinter van than those bigger units.
Yeah.
Even accessing places. And your van has so much inside it. But thinking about Dawn Wilson,
right,
who hosts an AMPA podcast with us, she took a year off and got an RV and on her own toured around. Now, they're expensive, right? But it was a lifestyle choice for that period of time for her to explore and experience in this RV. And she had a big RV. The Sprinter van, to me, is perfect. It's just, and yeah, of course, they're a little more pricey than an average vehicle because you're living out of it. But for the fuel efficiency, for the ease of access, if somebody's going to make that lifestyle choice for a period of time, if they know they're going to go have the opportunity to go out and camp and be, if it's wildlife photography or nature photography that fuels their passion, they're going to go for 4 or 5 months. It's the ticket, right? And I mean, it obviously depends on if somebody can afford it or if they, or what they're going to do to change their lifestyle. But it is a relatively economical option if somebody chooses to do that. I mean, we live once, right? I think I texted you this. I mean, there's so many ways to say it, but live well, buddy, right?
Right.
If you can do it and it gets you in the field comfortably, but in a relatively compact unit, albeit having to shower outside. All right.
Yeah, the fuel economy is what blows you away. I mean, it's 24 miles to the gallon. You know, with a big vehicle like that hauling, I don't know, it's going to be, I think most of them come in around 8,000 pounds. So you're hauling 8,000 pounds around and still getting 24 miles to the gallon. And when I test drove it, I drove it up I-70. And if anybody's familiar with driving up into the Rockies outside of Denver, I mean, it's a pretty steep slug going up there, and you couldn't tell, you know, I could have went faster. You know, it's not something I would do, but yeah, it should be cool. It could be an awesome place to just shoot out of as far as doing a lot of our content too, right? If we all meet up in a spot, it just gives us a spot to do our podcast out of. It gives us a spot to do all kinds of stuff for production.
okay.
Yeah. Shower outside.
Yeah. I'll let you guys borrow the shower.
The queen bed in the back. Yeah, that's just great. Yeah, I could see as you close the door throwing the pup tent out the door to me and say, "I'll see you in the morning."
I'll give you a cot.
Or you could draw a curtain across the front seat and say, "There you go, Raycroft. You can sleep up there. You can be captain for the night."
We'll put a couple boards across the 2 seats and you can live it up.
I'm so happy for you. I'm excited.
Thanks.
Where this is going to take you and the fun you'll have in it. And yeah, who knows? I mean, I'd love the opportunity to have extended time to do these kind of trips in the field. You know, I can start from here. You start in Denver, Jason, Utah. We'll meet up somewhere central and off we go for.
You spend months editing images. There's no reason you couldn't do the same thing in a van. That's what makes it cool, right? Because it's comfortable enough where you can work out of it. You could play out of it. And you can kind of live your life. If you're willing to just minimize some of your stuff, I think, you could be doing the same. I see a lot of them on these videos that I watch where people have put on full-on iMac systems inside their truck. And the solar is so good now. The solar technology that they put in these things and the amount of power that you can generate, you could run a computer all day. And if you've got the sun, you got to have the sun to make this all work. But it's pretty amazing. So you could be doing the same thing on the road. And
there was I was following a couple of feeds on Instagram that did custom vans. I stopped. It was just too much eye candy. I mean, if the day comes that I'm ready, that Pilly and I are ready to do that, then absolutely. But there's a place in North Vancouver that was doing them, and just so many options and such incredible interiors. And I mean, I didn't price them out. It was just all eye candy, but. The table, there was like a total office space with an iMac mounted in there. It's like, wow, right?
Yep. Yeah, and this one is, this guy did a great job. It's not fancy. I mean, like one of the cabinets, he just went to Home Depot and bought a cabinet and then put it in there. But it looks pretty custom in there. And so it's not like it was a really expensive build. And I don't have tons of money just floating around. So I was like, I've got to be pretty budget minded. And I think I just stayed with it long enough that I finally caught one at the right price.
You did, yeah. For the year and the miles and everything, I think you got an incredible deal.
Yeah. So we'll put it to use. I'm a little scared to go to Yellowstone in the winter with it, but
you'd be all right.
Yeah, I think I'd be all right. The time that I've done it in the past, it's windy and a little snowy, but this guy was driving around. He had it up in Winter Park, Colorado, and on icy roads, and it's not 4-wheel drive. He just has the tires that came on it. And he said it got around just fine. So I think it's just a heavy enough vehicle. If you drive responsibly, you'd be fine.
It's all about adventure.
Well, it's like what you said, live it up.
Yeah, make each day epic. Or we heard that somewhere, right? Something like that.
Make life epic.
Make life epic. There you go. Sorry.
That was Greg.
Was that Greg? Greg Piper?
Greg, yeah. Mr. Piper.
Another podcast worth listening to if you haven't for sure. They all are, but yeah, that's a good one. And I keep stumbling. I make sure I get it right. My favorite was the Charlie Brown one, where Charlie Brown says to Snoopy, it's a comic strip. He's at the end of a dock and he says, "You only live once," to Snoopy, and Snoopy says, "No, you only die once, but you live every day."
Yes,
that's the one I like to pull when necessary, just to spark things up in my mind. And I know I've repeated it on the podcast, but I think it's warranted.
Yeah.
So that's some heavy duty catch up, guys. Man.
Oh wait, whoa. I have something even more amazing than the Bobcat photos.
Yes, sir.
Oh yes, you do.
Yes.
As of this weekend, I'm a new grandpa, so that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
A new granddaughter. It's my first. It's my oldest boy and his wife, and Jovi Kennedy Loftus. She's a beautiful little girl, and I'm just starting down the grandpa road, so I'm very excited about it. So
I told you on text I was gonna. So how we on the YouTube feed, when you guys watch the YouTube feed, you'll see our names with our Instagram handle. I'm gonna change your Instagram handle. I'm just gonna put Gramps in there.
Gramps. I like it. Yeah, I'm going to own it and wear it with pride. I don't care.
Oh, yeah. No, it was cool. It is cool.
So that's a big deal for me. But
Big congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, before we got on the podcast, you were telling us you already have big plans for getting a camera in her hands. What, probably like 18 months?
Yeah, whenever she can push a shutter button, yeah. No, I'm excited to just get her out and get her experience in the outdoors, whatever that means, right? With it, four-wheeling, camping, photography, absolutely. But
chasing lizards?
Chasing lizards, absolutely. And little kids that dig that, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. It'll be fun.
Congratulations.
Well, the camera.
Thanks.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, there's so many things I want to say, but I don't want. I'm not. I'm not in a hurry to be a grandpa. But I can see the joy in it when it happens for so many reasons. Yeah. So much excitement about that. It's just a whole other chapter is not even the right word, but just exciting thing brings to your life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you love your children so much, and then to have that go on to another generation, it's just precious. So,
yeah.
But you're also the youngest of the crew, right?
Yeah, I'm too young to be a grandpa, technically, guys. But well, the math works out actually. So I guess
But that just gives you more time to play around, right?
Well, I'm hoping so. Yeah, I'm looking forward to whatever that means. I really am. So, they're young and they're gonna need lots of help, right? That's what family's for. So, I'm looking forward to all that. It's gonna be a fun experience. And my wife is just head over heels. I'm already starting to worry about the checkbook, and I'm gonna have to like strap down my camera gear so it doesn't get hawked and stuff. So
that's totally in her wheelhouse.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? More power to her, right? So.
Well, it just means you have to sell more pictures. Don't tell her you can't sell the gear because I can sell the pictures that.
I'm gonna have to get my button gear. So yeah.
That was this week. It was like
this was
wasn't it Saturday?
Because the dates were. It was Friday night, so it would have been January 15th. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I think you sent us pictures on Saturday.
I did. As soon as I got them, boy, I was like, I might have sent some like early in the morning to like 3 midnight, 1 o'clock. So I was just like, well, hopefully they leave their text alerts off, and I was pretty excited. So,
what do you got going on there, Mr. Raycroft?
I got my new safety glasses.
Safety glasses.
So, Mr. Mauro just left the building.
Now wait a minute. I gotta know why you need safety glasses for editing.
So with the pro tips and the listener questions that we're gonna put out there today, there's a few things. This is something that's new for me. Super geekoid look here. Go to YouTube, people. Have a chuckle. So these glasses, I knew nothing about this a week ago, and I'll admit I haven't Googled it to research how significant this is, whether it's an issue or not. But what put this on my radar was that my son, who's 23 and he's in school, asked my wife to order him a pair of these blue light protective blue light computer glasses, because one of the things he's studying is computer programming, so he's in front of screens a lot, and it filters this for the eyes. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've spoken to a couple of friends this week, and they're also the same way. And they spend a ton of time in front of their Macs, in front of their iPads or their smartphones. What the heck's blue light? So I go on and I look online, and they're like $25. So I'm like, okay, they're not good looking, but and I don't plan to edit.
Yeah. You look very studious.
I don't plan to edit with them. I mean, there really isn't much of a color difference, but I want to make sure I'm seeing colors 100% clear. But we're on our smartphones so much that I wear them there. But we talked about it before the podcast. I wasn't going to bring it up, but then Jason mentioned that you knew more about this too. So I thought I'd bring it up for the podcast. What's with the blue light and having eyewear that filters that?
Well, I don't know all the details, but I just know that supposedly there's
it all on you. Yeah.
No, I get it. Yeah, but no, I think I've heard that, because I just recently got glasses, I've been fighting it. I'm 47. I've been fighting my arm's not long enough anymore. So I actually I've been using readers, but I went to my daughter because it's kind of difficult sitting at a computer desk. I ride a desk for work, and then I come home and ride a desk editing photos a lot too, right? So it's spending a lot of time in front of computer screens, and the lights that come off the computers. There's theories that blue light that's coming out of there can be harmful for your eyes and or can affect your sleep, your circadian rhythm, or whatever it is, right? There could have some impacts on that they don't fully understand. And from what I understand, my daughter works for an optometrist. So I went and visited them and asked them about those things and got some glasses. I actually got some office glasses. So now they're transition lenses. So they've set them up so that I can see close at the bottom, and in the middle I can see my screen. At the top I can see somebody that walks in the room, for example, right, pretty clearly. And they work really well. But they can do these coatings, and they added this blue light coating to it. And I was worried about the same thing, Mark, as far as the editing. I was worried about it changing the colors in that. And so these ones have it on them, and it seems like it doesn't really having much of an impact on the colors. I've been doing some editing with them on, and it seems to be pretty effective. I think the cheaper, like the $25 ones you bought, those may be able to have an impact on color. I'm not. Yeah, they look amazing, by the way.
Oh yeah. You can tell by looking at them how much they cost. Yes, a lot put into style here. A lot of yeah.
Well, and glasses aren't cheap, right? So fortunately, my daughter works at the optometrist, and that saved me quite a bit of money. But to have this coating put on professionally, it's not very cheap. So, anyways, long story short, I think who knows that the doctor said that there's no real studies or evidence to show that there is an impact with the blue light, or that having this layer actually does anything. But the stuff that they're looking into right now. But I just figured, it can't hurt. And I spent enough time in front of the computers that if it has a potential to have an impact, that it's probably a smart thing to do. But there you have it. That's all I know.
That's a lot. Yeah. For $25, I figured, again, at least for the smartphone time, which is adding up. I mean, Instagram, I don't know. I don't even want to say it. I'm a little embarrassed. But for the multiple pages and stuff, it's 1 to 2 hours a day.
That's a lot of work.
And I'm not. So if it doesn't change anything wearing these super sexy glasses. I mean, everything looks the same around the room. I look different, but I'm on my couch in the house or in the office, so it's not a fashion statement. But I don't know. I figured for that, if it's important enough to my son and he's studying computer science and he knows that, it's probably shot after 10 million hours in front of an editing computer already, but it's only adding up more and more. As Ron pointed out, and we talked about weeks ago, we get the weekly update on how much time you spent on your phone. It's like, well, that's significant now. So maybe these things, if they don't hurt to wear, and when people come in the room, they get a good laugh, it's worth it, right? So food for thought, something to research. Think about.
We'll know how serious you are if you show up in the field with them for
there you go.
Your field Instagram time. Then we'll know if they're making a difference.
Right. Yes, true.
Are they magnified at all, or are they just a blue blocker?
No, they're just a blue blocker, which is a problem for me. Again, it's the glasses thing. So I have sunglasses that are prescription, and then my distance glasses, and then my computer glass. It's embarrassing. It's downright embarrassing.
Why
I go
is it
into my
embarrassing?
office. Well, because I don't want to get older. I want to stay nimble and young and going, and I mean, I'm going to fight that curve like Michael Mauro does every day on his bicycle, but I'll go I sit down at my office desk, there's my Mac, and in front of it there's 3 pair of glasses, right? There's these, which and then there's the prescription ones. So at arm's length, to be super sharp, I wear 1 pair, but they're no good out in the field. If I need to see an animal at 300 yards away, crisp, I need to wear my regular glasses. So I ultimately have to do what you did, Jason, and the next time I get glasses, which is overdue, then to see about the blue coating on the ones that I wear that are prescription.
Yeah.
This was just a spontaneous thing for $25 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I wanted the risky business look, the frames from the 80s movie.
You nailed it.
Yeah. They're a little shiny, I think, but yeah.
I think it'd be fun for you to. There's a TikTok filter out there that tells you what celebrity you look like. I think you ought to wear those and see what it does for you.
Yeah, scary business is what that'll be. Not risk. Yeah.
Well, that was a good pro tip starter.
I'll ease into it.
So we're going to do a pro tip or a question?
Oh, you know what? It's totally flex, guys. We can do a question.
Either way, I can do a pro tip.
I worked really hard on today's pro tip ideas and came up with another one I want to throw out there before the podcast is over. But so we have listener questions as they keep trickling in, and always appreciate the interaction on every level with our podcast. So send them to us on an email, send them to us on Instagram, on a DM at Wild and Exposed, and let us know. And we'll get back to them and reply then. But also, I mean, we won't guarantee that I'll be featured on a podcast, but we definitely select a bunch over time as we do these podcasts together and feature them. So this is from Jakey's Fork, Wyoming on Instagram, JAKEYSFORK, Wyoming. When shooting on sunny days, do you use an ND filter? And if so, how many stops do you recommend? And right out of the gate, I'll hand this one over to Michael Mauro.
I never use ND, but Jason brought up a good point earlier when we were talking about this before the show. So I guess there is a reason to use an ND, but when I'm shooting stills, I never use ND. Unless you're trying to achieve an effect, and I'll let Jason go into that. I use ND all the time when I'm shooting video, but that's because we're trying to achieve a certain settings within the camera to make it look more cinematic than the opposite, which would be video and having everything sharp. So I don't know that there's a good answer as far as what range do you use. I think the ones that are out there nowadays, you just want to spend a lot of money. You know, I think you should spend, if you're going to put a piece of glass in front of your lens that you've spent a lot of money on, it's worth it to spend a little bit of money on that filter so that you're not degrading the lens that you just spent all this money on. And just get one that can go from whatever 0.3 to 1.2 or 0.3 to even higher than 1.2 if you can find a good quality one that works for the size of lens that you have. So it kind of leads into one of my pro tips that I had too, but I want to have Jason kind of address using it for stills. But for me, I never use it for stills. I know Ron had something the other day where he was talking about using an ND sometimes. Well, no, he was talking about doing his settings just to taking advantage of the bright light.
Before Jason gives the expert answer on that stuff, I'll just say I don't touch it for stills. And I mean, we can do a lot of stuff in post now, but the light is the light. It's one of the primary things about being a successful photographer in outdoor natural light is interpreting and reading that. And there's good light and there's not good light. So the rich light, the first 3 hours of daylight, and of course this is different up at the Arctic and when the days are long or short, but generally speaking for us, first 3 hours of daylight, the last 3 hours, good light to photograph in. The richness varies. You might want to change your white balance and play with that stuff in your camera. And that's on a clear day, on a sunny day. On overcast days, it's game on throughout the day. Shadows are gone, light's even. That's awesome. I like cloudy white balance for overcast days myself, for what I like my images to look like going into post-production. But I've never, when the light's harsh, it's time to look at the pictures on the back of the camera, or better yet, catch up with your friends in the field or sit down and take in the scenery and enjoy where you are.
Or take a nap.
Or get out there and make some really contrasty black and white fine art photos.
Infrared.
Infrared. That's what Ron was talking about.
Yes, it was a fine art black and white, wasn't it?
It was.
Way to go, Mr. Hayes. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the podcast we just put out, wasn't it Joe? Wasn't he talking about doing the infrared stuff?
Yeah.
And we just put him on the show, or they're in the show notes. So if you want to go look at his work, they are stunning.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a link to his actual page to actually look at him big, but you can see him on our page very small. But they're pretty cool. And he said you did need that really contrasty middle of the day light.
So there's always a way to use the light to your advantage. I guess that's what we learn, right?
Right. But what was the thing that you said, Jason, earlier when you were like, well, you could use an ND for this? And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Well, and I'm with you guys. And Mike, maybe just real quick, just to give context to it, because I think it's important maybe to just give a quick example of you using like your settings. You mentioned that you do it for effect, right? Before when you're doing video, you're trying to get certain settings, but maybe just a little bit more detail about what those settings would be for an example.
So on video, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, if you want to keep that cinematic look, is you always want to shoot your shutter speed at 2 times your frame rate. So if you're, in all these new cameras, most of them you can shoot 24 frames a second, 30 frames a second, 60 frames a second. That's the most common. And then if you get into some of the newer cameras, you can shoot 120 frames a second. But let's say you're shooting at 30 frames a second. What you want to do is you want to have your shutter speed at a 60th. So, and then you choose whatever depth of field you want. Sometimes I cheat when I'm shooting animals where I want a little bit more in focus, or if I'm trying to get all the antlers, I'll shoot at f8. Sometimes I'll go that high. Sometimes you can even go to f11 depending on which lens I'm using. But you're always fighting that light. And if it's a bright sunny day, you've got to cut the light to get to a 60th. Anybody that's out there shooting, you just know it's so hard in the middle of the day, or, just right at that 3-hour mark, in the morning, it gets pretty bright at that point. And there's no way without ND will you ever get a 60th of a second at say 5.6 and you're shooting 30 frames a second. So they call it the 180 degree rule. And it just gives you that cinematic look. So if you're shooting a 60th, and if you slow down, a good way to explain it is if I want to treat my video camera like a still camera, I have to operate it like a still camera. So the red camera, the sensor in that camera is good enough to shoot still images. And that was what they touted when that red camera first came out, is you can shoot stills, you can shoot video, you can shoot whatever. And it's true. But you have to shoot it as a still camera, or you have to shoot it as a video camera. So if you're shooting it as a still camera, you're going to run your settings up and you're going to have a fast shutter speed and you're going to be able to stop the action. So if you're scrolling through the footage and you stop anywhere where you had a fast shutter speed, the image is going to be sharp. But if you're shooting at a 60th and you try to pull a freeze frame out of a bit of video, it's never going to be completely sharp. Just like we're expecting to see sharp out of a stills camera. But that's what gives you that cinematic look. And you don't really notice it in video. If it's a 60th and it's a little blurred, and it's not blurred, it's just like a little motion blur more than anything. And it's very slight, but that's what achieves that cinematic look and what we're all used to seeing when we go to the movies or when we go watch some IMAX film or whatever. It's that look that we're after. And the only way to do it is with ND.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you. And I think the reason I wanted you to point that out, I think, is because it also answers why for photographs, most of us, especially wildlife, right, that none of us are really using NDs for, because we're not trying to reduce light and lower our shutter speeds. We're trying to increase light so we can crank our shutter speeds up, right? So for wildlife, I've never used any kind of filter for any of my photography. The only time I've ever used a filter, and it goes back to your comment about achieving an effect, is like for waterfalls, for example. If you want to try to get some silky water and, you're not there at the right time of day, or you got a little bit of the sun starting to hit the scene, then you're definitely going to have to, if you're trying to get, a 3-second or a 5-second exposure, for example, you're definitely going to have to use an ND filter. And you're probably going to have to use something like a 7-stop ND filter or something like that to try to achieve that kind of effect. So to me, that's the only time I've ever used a filter, and I've tried it a few times, and it's fun to play with. But I've never used it for any type of wildlife stuff.
The one thing that people used to do all the time in Denali when you're trying to shoot Mount McKinley is it's snow covered year round, right? And you have this definite line of the vegetation with no snow, and then all of a sudden you have snow. And if you're trying to shoot a really cool picture of that mountain, we used to use graduated neutral density. So we'd cut the mountain, leave the bottom all clear, and that worked a lot. That worked really well. But now you can kind of do that in camera, so you don't need a neutral density as much. If you're shooting off a tripod and you just bracket your exposures, then you can fix it all in post. Back in the old days, you couldn't fix it.
Yeah, and I would just even say, like a lot of the newer cameras, the dynamic range is so good that you don't even have to bracket in a lot of cases, right? So, right. I mean, maybe if I don't know enough about one landscape, maybe I'm just doing it wrong, but but I would assume that the dynamic range is, you probably get a much better image if you bracketed, but you can get away with quite a bit without even bracketing. But.
Yep. Yeah, Denali was just the most extreme example because it was just so white, and on a bright, clear day, there's just no way we were going to match that exposure. The dynamic range wasn't there.
Yeah.
But that leads right into one of my pro tips. Can I throw that out there real quick?
Do it.
So, more and more people are shooting video, and I put this little system together the other day because I'm going to go shoot this job, and I needed to have a wide angle lens. And so at one point I bought a matte box. So a matte box is a piece of equipment that you put on the end of your lens, and then you can slide big square filters. So it's not a variable neutral density. It's more of a square filter, and it is what it is what it is. So you get a 0.9, you get a 0.9. Or if you want to cut 3 stops of light, that's the filter you put in. And then you can stack them if you want to, so you can add more than one. But the problem is all these lenses are different sizes now, right? So you have 77 is probably the most common of what we all use. So if you look at your 24 to 70, well, if you look at a 24 to 70 f4, it's a 77. A 70 to 200 is usually a 77. But then you get into the lens like you're using, Mark, that 200 to 500, I think it's a 95, right? On the end. So what you can end up having is, if I want to have a neutral density, variable neutral density for all your lenses in your bag, then you're buying 2 or 3 or 4 different neutral density filters to fit every lens. Well, I grabbed a lens the other day for this little kit that I was building, and it's a 95. And I'm like, oh man, I don't want to buy another variable. And I already have these square filters, really high quality square filters. They're 4 inches by 5.5 inches, and they are made to fit in these matte boxes. Well, there's a company called Wooden Camera, and they make a new matte box that you would slide these filters into, and it comes with, I've got the box right here. It comes with different lens diameters, so you can snap on an 82, a 77, a 95, whatever. You put that on the end of your lens, and then you screw that attachment right to the matte box. So your matte box is kind of one size fits all, and then they include all these adapters so that you can get to all those different sizes. So if you're really into video, I highly recommend it. It's a little on the spendy side just because it's pretty high quality stuff and it's super light. It's not great for stills because you just can't get around in the field. You're going to knock it off, or if you're trying to walk around through the bushes or whatever, it's bulky and it kind of sticks out there. But if you're shooting video off a tripod and you're stationary, it's pretty awesome to have. So highly recommend it, and it's strictly for neutral density. This one actually comes with a sunshade, so it can help out even if you're not using neutral density, because you could, if you have sun kind of come in your lens and you don't want to get rid of it, you can bring the sunshade down a little bit. But it's a pretty cool little unit to have. So that would be my pro tip if you're wanting to get into, higher end video with just one filter set that is not variable. So once you put it in there, you're stuck. But if you're shooting in bright light, more times than not, I'm just throwing in the 1.2 and I just adjust the camera to work off of that one filter. And it is a better quality filter. You're putting less glass in front of it, in front of your lens. And, a variable neutral density is essentially 2 filters that twist together to create the amount that you want. With this, it's just one piece of high quality glass with that neutral density setting right on there. So you're going to get a much better image, I feel like, if you use this matte box system. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to go check it out.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me think about, don't we have it on the YouTube channel? A whole series of talking about videos and videoing and filter systems and different types of MD filters and stuff.
Yeah, I did one of those.
So something is, and it's out there, so somebody can go, if you're interested in more details on other options too, you can go out and check that out on the YouTube channel.
The YouTube channel, I mean, the audio podcasts are so mobile. You're doing whatever, it's great. We love putting that product out. But yeah, go to the YouTube channel. There's so many things we're working on there. We've got playlists for wildlife action videos. Some are super short, but so unique that we've found in the field. There's a lot going on there, and it's it's going to keep expanding. We've been talking behind the scenes. There's a lot of excitement brewing at Wild and Exposed. So I encourage you to go to YouTube and subscribe, hit the bell icon, because as we develop more content, seriously, it's going to be fun. Be there. So just for clarification, because we're all on different pages in some respects in life, what is spendy for that mat box?
I think it was right at $1,000.
Ooh, that is spendy.
But you figure if you go buy a variable neutral density, a good one, you're going to spend $500, and it's going to be that size. So you're going to buy a 77, or you're going to buy a 82. Now you can use a step down ring. So if you're familiar with filters, and in the old days people used to carry around tons of filters. So you could have a 77 that steps up to an 82, and that works because it's bigger. Your filter is bigger, so you can go from an 82 and screw it onto a 77 with that step down ring. So you do get some functionality, but 95, like what you're using, Mark, with the 2-5, and this lens that I was using is that, and it has threads on it, so I could use a traditional filter, but I was going to have to go buy that. I already had the filters, so this just seemed like a better option. And then I can go anywhere. I think it goes all the way down to 52, the little adapters. 52 all the way up to 114.
Sure.
So it just gives you that range. So you are spending a little bit more, but it's made out of carbon fiber, so it's super light, and it gives you that flexibility. But I would only recommend it for the real serious, not even real serious, but people that shoot lots of video. I would definitely use it as a tool in the DSLR video world. If you're using a traditional video camera, a lot of times ND's built in. So if you're using a C300 or a C500 or any of those Canon, a lot of the Sonys have neutral density built right into the body, so you don't have to worry about it. But Reds and DSLRs, we don't have that. So it's just a good option.
I have a 305. It's for sale. Cheap.
An XF305. That is vintage,
XF305.
7 or 8 years ago?
Oh, with the whole kit, I think I spent $10,000 on that.
Oh, I know.
Oh, just punch me in the gut now.
But
I bet it's moved on, right?
Oh,
my iPhone's better.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I shouldn't say that. It's for sale, and it's a really good. It's actually a good camera. There's so much I love about it. It's just HD, right?
Yeah.
So who shoots in HD? What do you do? So I have an Atomos Ninja that I'd put on it, right, to pull off RAW. But anyway, all right, moving on. Sorry. Yeah, that's a great pro tip. So I have a pro tip about a new app that I use for Instagram that puts out the data, and people are loving this about the photos. All right, I'll confess.
I love it.
I'll confess. We were talking before the podcast. Jason, my man, this is your pro tip, and it's a good one. Take it away, buddy.
I love it. Thanks for not stealing it. No, the one I was just going to share, and it's a quick and easy one, but it's I've been getting a lot of requests since I started doing it. But on my photos, I've been sharing on the second. If you swipe to the left on the second photo, the metadata from my photo, and it seems to be something a lot of people are really enjoying. And I've been getting a lot of requests on how to do it too. And it's just a simple app. It's called Photo Summary. All one word, Photo Summary. And I think it's $2 or $3, so it does cost you, but it's pretty user friendly, and you can choose what kind of data ends up on your image. It's like right now I'm putting my name as a copyright, and my website, and the camera info, the lens info, and then all the metadata too, or the data for the settings. So super easy to use. It might be something that you guys find value in if you want to share that kind of data with folks. And I think people tend to really appreciate that. I don't know if it's increasing followers. I doubt it is, but it seems like the followers that I have are liking it and appreciate having that kind of data. So pretty easy.
I think a lot of people look at that and they just want to know. I mean, it's just like, I wonder what, if you're looking at something where the background's falling off, what was your aperture?
That's
and then you get to see it right there. And we talk about it all the time, and we all know how to do it. And I think if you can just see a picture and see what it was shot at, it's it's just good information. It just gives you food for thought.
Well, what's funny too is my buddy Dale Evans, who's been on the show before, he was giving me a little bit of grief, but he had a actually really good point. He said, so you were shooting at 320 millimeters on one of my shots, but you were still at f6.3. And he says, why? Because that lens will go below that, if you're down there. And I told him why. I was like, well, come on. And he knew, but it doesn't automatically go down. So I just left it at 6.3 and kept shooting. But, did I do that on purpose, or did I, so there's more data potentially that could get you to think about sharing more information with folks with your images too. So it was kind of a good little lesson, I guess. I'll let him have it. But
well, I think I can tell you for a fact I've gotten lazier with the cameras that you have nowadays. It's like, I'm not going to worry too much about it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But 10 years ago, I would have been paying a lot more attention to what my aperture was. And if I could have got to f4, I would have probably done it.
Yeah.
But now
sure.
I can get away with it. So, and then I just spend more time on composition, which I think is ultimately more valuable. But
you get away with it because your ISO is much higher than it once was. So the shutter speed doesn't need to be bumped up by going to the lower aperture, just for those listening that way. So the cameras they're monsters with what we can do now for ISO. Amazing. Right. Yeah. So the same thing. It's just it, unless it's a scenario where you really are tight enough, you want to pull that background away with the shallowest depth of field you can, then, I agree with Michael. You just don't end up changing it because your shutter speed is fast enough. And instead, like you said, 100%, you're focused on composition, on the animal behavior, and getting the variety of images you can in that fleeting moment.
Right.
Yeah. But there are situations where, the shallow depth of field does improve it. So you just be aware of that too. But it's awesome times. I tell you, Michelle Valberg's been in touch with me this week about the Nikon ZZ7 II. If it wasn't for COVID and we were traveling, this would all be no brainer, but I'm just still sitting tight because nothing's happening right now, but it sounds pretty sweet. Anyway.
You're just going to save money by not having to buy this intermediate model, because by the time COVID's over,
right,
the next one's you're going to be with the Z3.
9.
Yeah.
The rumors
Z9.
of the 9. Yeah, who knows, right? It's I'm still waiting on the teaser 2 to 600 info that she dropped on us and then left so abruptly. Michelle, so exciting. So I don't know if can I do one more pro tip kind of spin? Not to Instagram overload, but it's the most important tool for marketing visuals now. And this is where the time goes into Instagram. I really enjoy the interaction, honestly. And I'm such a visual person. I love seeing everybody's work. But we can now present it in so many ways. It's like sit down, get comfortable, get your coffee or your tea, whatever you're into, because you're there. There's interacting with everybody, which is great. There's posting a picture. There's making it relevant with the caption, why you're posting that picture. But now you've got stories, right? So stories came out and they were important. And the Instagram algorithms, from my distant and naive interpretation, appreciate people interacting on these various platforms they offer as far as getting traction. So you put up stories because that's a new way to present visuals, whether it's stills or video. And there are the GIFs and graphics and fun stuff. And there's the font and the pump and pop and things you can put on there. We've been doing that for a while now. So every day you got a post, you've got stories, or most days. It depends on your agenda and what you want to accomplish, of course. But for us, it's pretty well every day. Now there's Reels. It's been out for a while. I know a lot of you listeners are going to say, hey, Raycroft, what are you talking about? It's been out. Well, this is new on my plate because I just engaged with it this week. And they are so much fun. But be in a comfortable chair because it's all of this creative process. I love being creative. I love marketing. But the Reels now give you the opportunity. For me, I go into this is all done on my smartphone. They're getting so good, by the way. I love this new generation of smartphone. I just got the iPhone 12 this week, and I know there are Androids that are probably comparable or better in some ways, but I jumped from the 8 Plus to the 12. The camera's on it. I just can't get enough. But the technology in these apps, in Instagram, to work your videos, to quickly, I go into my video folder, and I did for Wild and Exposed, and I've only done like 4 or 5 reels, but each one is like, oh, I could have done this. I find out new tools in them. So I want to take you folks along on the adventures that we're having or have had. So the Kenai Peninsula, I pulled a couple there where there's some videos. Maybe take 5 videos together. Maybe there's a time lapse. Maybe there's a various perspectives and aerial from a plane. And the cool thing is you have to select them chronologically that you want to place them in your reel. But when you select the first one, you just slide the finger, you pick the spot and set it and hit add. So it adds it. Then you go back to your video folder. What's the next part of this story? And it's something Michael's talked about from day one, 3 years ago on our podcast, is creating B-roll, telling a story visually through video. And these platforms are facilitating that so easily for everybody now to take people along. It may not be a wildlife adventure. It could be your family weekend. So much fun. So you pick the next one chronologically. What do you want it to be? Is it from the plane? Is it from the boat? Is it the water? Is it the macro close-up? Is it the animal? And then again, you slide it to the amount of duration. And so maybe the reel's 30 seconds. You can adjust all of this. And then you add the next segment. So let's say add 5 videos together and make a reel that's 30 seconds long and try to tell a story with it. It's really a lot of fun, but it takes time. And then I upload that. And I'm like patting myself on the back. The guys are going to be happy with this. I hope they were. I never heard. But that's okay. I don't mean it that way. But it's like I was a little worried when I've learned things since then. I'm like, oh, I should pull that down because it could have been better. So you can select your cover. Well, I did pull one down because it started with the dirt road sequence. And the cover, the opening thumbnail for that reel that showed on Instagram was just the dirt road ahead of the truck. It's like, that's not sexy. So you can just slide along and pick a part of whatever the visual is during that reel to be your cover, your thumbnail that's going to get people to click on it or opens it. Then you can pick music. I skipped this for the first like 3 or 4, and there's all the different genres, and you just go through and, I mean, it's whatever the mood you're feeling. You pick the music, and it goes with the story. And to me, I mean, I'm having a lot of fun. It's super impactful visually, but it takes time. So it's just another thing with Instagram, but it's still marketing, it's still promotion. And for our show, season 4, brothers, to be able to so easily sit down. And I know we've talked about this on a podcast like 2 years ago, Michael, where iMovie would put together a great sequence.
Right. And
now Reels in Instagram, I think, does it with the same efficiency built right in the app. And I heard, and I might be wrong about this, but I heard it was, TikTok was doing so well as an app, something I'm not engaged in, but I've seen some. My son sends them to me. There's some hilarious ones out there. But this was Instagram's way of creating a content driver that's similar platform to TikTok on their own app because, everybody wants to be the biggest app out there. So the interest in it is for those that want to keep growing their Instagram for whatever reason it might be, but as professional photographers, if it's to grow your following for photography, the information coming down the grapevine was that these algorithms favor reels right now. So let's try it. So that's what we were doing. So I'm going to, for now, try to do like a reel every 4th post and just watch the statistics, the analytics, and see what it does.
How's the music on that work? Because a lot of it is copyrighted songs, right? Do you get to choose? I haven't done a reel, so I don't know. I look at them all the time. You're right. There's some funny stuff. There's some cool wildlife stuff. It's kind of whatever your Instagram's feeding you. There's going to be a good reel for that stuff, right? But a lot of times you'll hear a copyrighted song. Is that something that you can just say, oh, I want the Beatles, or I want Waylon Jennings, or I want Johnny Cash, or I want whatever? Can you just choose that song and go with it?
So when you hit your window to add a photo, right beside it is Reels. So that's where you access this portal into their app. But yeah, man, these are all copyrighted songs, and this is in their app. So
it must
this
be
is
legal.
something that this is somebody that if we had, somebody in the back right now working on our podcast, producer that would say, look this up as we're talking, like Joe Rogan has with his buddy there. I forget as
I don't remember.
I don't want to guess because I'll get it wrong. And give us the answer, but they're hit songs, man. So I assume, and I don't know this for a fact, but Instagram must be licensing these as long as it's used in their app, is my assumption, because the reel doesn't ever leave the Instagram app. But, it shows you when you pick audio or music to go with it, you've got like 5 genres selected there, and you can expand on them. Any kind of music, and there's hit songs there. So it doesn't ask you, it doesn't prompt you, it doesn't do anything to warn you. So they're offering it as part of their app. So my assumption is they've licensed it or are paying because of the money they're generating through their ads somehow to support the music. But I haven't looked that up. It would be something worth researching just out of curiosity because it's a valid question. But I assumed, given that they gave you the option within their app, obviously it's good to go because they're offering the music to you. And here's the interesting thing. So this is part of that spin. So when you look at our reel, when it plays the reel, right above the video clips, the musician's name and song are highlighted right there. Mm. It shows that. So you know who the artist is and you know the name of the song. So there is promotion going on for that audio as well. That's embedded right above your reel for everybody who sees it.
That's pretty awesome. So I've got a task for you then.
Oh, another. Yeah.
I think, and this is by the time we ever get around to doing this, it's going to be old news. It already is old news, but if you could get a caribou drinking cranberry juice.
Oh, yeah. I see where you're going.
We'd be done.
Yeah. And was Fleetwood Mac? Was it Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm writing that down. Caribou, cranberry juice.
Or maybe it's you drinking cranberry juice with a caribou in the background.
That might be
doable.
Yeah. I probably do that.
Like we could do it right now if you have some.
Oh, okay, sure.
Oh, that's good. I need to try to start doing those. I haven't done that at all. Have you done one, Jason? A reel?
I have not. But you're right. I've been hearing lots about it. It's a big part of the algorithm now, and it's probably something you got to keep kind of. So I've thought about using it in the way like from maybe some editing tips, or I don't know what the best way to do. But that I'm just trying to think from our perspective what makes sense, and it would be the adventures. And I think it might be some of our workflow editing type stuff. Maybe just once in a while you just go and edit a photo on there and try to put a video together of that and throw it on your reel, or something. I don't know.
That's cool. I like that angle.
Who knows? But
I mean, there's some funny. What gets me is if and you can get caught up, like you said, you better be in a comfortable chair. You can get caught up pretty easy. And there's some funny stuff out there.
Yeah, there really is. It's hilarious.
I haven't done a humor one yet. That's a good idea. Yeah. It's just fun it's a new creative way, and smartphones for all your trips, adventures, whatever you're filming and photographing, it's another way to capture it and tell it to people so easily. It's worth it. There's always that trepidation about trying something new for a lot of people. And the reels was like, I knew they were out there, and it was just something because, we want to be relevant with our marketing and with our promotions and with our interactions in social media. So I just tried it, and it really was easy and fun. But each time I've done it, the first 4 or 5 times, it's like, oh, there's a different tool, and it does make it better. So anyway, it's fun to do. It's worth experimenting, but it's a decision of the time commitment. But it inspires us to do more video on these devices to help tell the stories. One thing I haven't found yet that I'd like it to be able to do is in your timeline when you're adding these videos, it would be really nice to be able to add a photo but I can't seem to access that. It only will go to my video folders. I know it's static, but even if it was for like 2 seconds, because if it shows, if one of us was walking up toward a subject in the distance to photograph it, and we were behind with the video showing what's happening, and then to show the photo, right? It's just something like that. I'm sure it'll get there.
So I wonder if you can. I'm sure you can import a photo into iMovie and then export the iMovie out, and then
sure
that'll be a video, and then you'd be able to do it.
There you go. There you go.
Then that's only going to add another hour.
Pro tip within a pro tip. All right.
That's a good one. I like it.
Well, it's fun stuff, and it keeps evolving. And if the algorithm does lean to favor that, it's good to try it. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but that's why we're trying it. Honestly, I personally love doing the videos and the storytelling of adventure as much as I do still photography. I might even lean that way now. It just feels more interactive, and there's so many more layers to the presentation with the moving content, with the selection of music. It's so powerful. The music you can choose to set the mood for what you're showing.
Yeah, and everybody has those favorite songs, right? That just do it for you, and it's going to be the same for a lot of other people out there.
Huh. Yeah, we could have some fun with some of those too. There's some of those music ones that are kind of meant for like funny stuff, and there's definitely you got me thinking now.
All right.
Jason, you're going to need to get a Tesla. Because then you can make the reels when you're driving to work. Because the car will drive for you.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to do something like that. Use better use of my time for that.
That's the only way I could see. I mean, God.
Oh, man, it's so crazy. Exactly. I was just thinking the same thing. And Mark, you're right. But it's just like the time commitment to manage all this stuff just to try to keep a page going is just getting crazy. Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is, once you do your next post, that reel is kind of buried until people go dig through your page, right? Oh. So it's there, but it's a narrow window of time that it gets attention. So something, and I don't know about this either, but food for thought. I've seen more and more people on Instagram who are trying to grow their pages post that, about saving a photo. So on the right, there's that little, it's a hard to describe icon on the very right.
Looks like a ribbon.
Image. Yeah, thank you. Like a ribbon. So that is, I've heard seen a few people write that's like a super like. I mean, there's so many layers to this.
It's a flag, is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
you're right.
It's so that you can always go back to it. No, I'm just saying that's what it's called. You can go back to it. Like if you go to I'm sorry, I'm going there right now because this does matter, and it's relevant because I use it quite a bit. So if you want to save some, it's saved. Actually, is what it stands for. If you go to so I get everybody up on the upper right hand, you've got the drop down menu for your settings, archive, insights. You'll see that little flag icon or whatever it is, and it says saved. If you click on that, anything that you've flagged with that, all those posts or reels or whatever you flagged, you can go and see them very quickly. So like if there's a post that has some really good information about something, or you come across something that's, you want to buy something potentially, a new whatever it is, a new camera comes out or whatever, you can flag that post and you can go back to it quickly later on if you don't want to mess with it right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I use it for when those very friendly and courteous photographers put the location of something that looks really good that I didn't know about.
Oh, absolutely.
Then I save it because it's like, all right, down the road, if I'm in that area, there's this information. So, but I've seen people showing it as a super like. So you may want to, if that's true, you may want to encourage your friends to do that. So since I operate 3 or 4 pages, I'll do that when I put a post up. I'll hit the other 3 pages and save it because it gives it theoretically more traction. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and I mean, there's so many layers to this stuff. As we're, talking to Sean James about YouTube, there's, there's so much to learn to gain traction. Consistency seems to be the number one rule on these platforms, and playing a regular game with them, interacting regularly. But once you dig below that, there are all these other levels that can be done to help improve your growth. And for photographers, everybody loves, well, it's just human nature, right? More followers, more likes, and especially if somebody's trying to generate revenue, do print sales or whatever it might be, there's motivation that way. So just having the knowledge and then making the choice of the time, and obviously be cognizant of how much time one spends in front of this stuff too. So
yeah,
need more glasses. You're gonna have to get a pair for your vehicle, your edit station, your tent.
No, it doesn't happen in the tent. The tent is social media free, but what happens on trips like that is all the collecting of the images and videos, right. All that fun stuff. And that's where, man, it just keeps digging deeper, guys. That's where the new phones, just the light, the perception of light is just leaps from I had the iPhone 8 Plus until a week ago. I held off. And my friend Bill, that I do, my good buddy that I do a lot of these, if not the vast majority of these Algonquin trips with, had the 11 last summer on these trips. And there was an image where we had the lake at dusk, sun had set, so blue, but nice sky. The tent that he was in was lit up, and then the lake and the trees looked like a nice scene to help tell part of the story. So I take a picture, and of course he's right beside me. We did it. He might have did it first, and I joined to take the picture too. And on the iPhone 8 Plus, it was like, forget about it. It was all pixelated. It's like it's nighttime. On the 11, it was like, send me that, man. And I used it on the Adventure Algonquin feed because it was so cool to see the depth. It was sharp. The tent was detailed, illuminated. You could see detail in the post-sunset sky, the water. I couldn't get any of that on the 8. So as these keep evolving, it's something. I mean, they're becoming, well, there's a whole other subject. We can get on to the Elon Musk. If you haven't listened to Elon Musk with Joe Rogan, it's an interesting podcast. It's one worth visiting. And yeah, these extensions, these electronic extensions of us become more and more relevant in that aspect of interaction globally. I'll stop there. All right.
Shoot, who knows? By the iPhone 20, we may not even need. We won't even. R5s will be irrelevant, obviously, by then. But you know what I mean. It's cameras like that we use every day may be irrelevant.
Seriously, it may happen. We talked about it with Michelle. I mean, joked about it because of the new Nikons coming out, and a big year for Canon with the R5, and who knows where this is going and what's happened in the past 5 years, not even decade, for camera capabilities. But the smartphones, I mean, it's something I kind of, when I hear about the new generation, there's a part of me that's excited, and there's a part of me that kind of hunches and tucks my head because it's like, is this the end? Is this the end of the telephotos? Because for wildlife photographers, that's the one thing that the smartphones can't do, is telephoto at high quality.
Yeah.
Well, this iPhone 12 at 2.5 times, it's got the 3 lenses on it, at 2.5 times magnification, shooting at 4K. Holy, it's good. But thankfully, it's still 2.5 times. That's not enough. You know, we need 10 times, 15 times magnification for a lot of the subjects that we're with.
At 4K.
At 4K, yeah, right. So, but yeah, when is that? When does that happen? And will we be in 5 years?
If you knew that, you'd be Elon Musk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think I read this past week. He's now the wealthiest person on planet Earth. Have to admire his ambition, without a doubt, and his vision for that. But yeah, I don't know.
Listening to him, it kind of scares you, though. That's your point. I mean,
well, there are aspects to it that, if it's for inquiring, curious minds where technology's going, it's, why not listen to somebody with this perspective to see where their head's at? And it was very interesting for that reason. And it's like, wow.
And scary. I'll keep saying it. And a little scary.
Yeah, definitely.
To me, it was a little scary. It's like,
yeah, no. I'm not ready for the brain implant, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. No, I'm not ready for the internet to be live in my head and transmitting to people around. No.
Why do you feel that way, Jason? Why did you just say that to me? I know you didn't say it out loud, but I heard you.
Because I'm a grandpa. Oh, no, I know what you mean.
Well, that was one of the first questions. Like, how do you filter that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
well, there's been many Hollywood movies made about that, right?
Yes,
so
there has
that
been.
Becomes life. Yeah, I don't want to be part of that.
No, it's already overwhelming, but it's also exciting with what we can do compared to what we could do 10 or 20 years ago. It's like this is nuts.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody the other day that, I mean, our perspective and somebody that's 20 years old is, their perspective are totally different, right? These people have never had, 20-year-old person never dealt with a black and white TV, never dealt with whatever it was. They've always had this little thing in their hand. So it's not, I don't know. It's just, norm. It's the norm.
Yeah. Yep. It's always been that way. For sure. Well, yeah. But even in their lifetime, it's happened to all of us, right? You think about, not to go down too many rabbit holes on this podcast, but what their grandparents say to us when we were young, right? Well, it wasn't like that when we were kids.
Yeah.
And, the young people in their 20s now that have this technology, by the time they're 40 and 50, what's it going to be like for them? They're going to be like, wow, it's nothing like that. Who knows?
Watching Jeremiah Johnson is going to be like sci-fi.
Yeah.
In about 20 years.
Right.
It's fun. I like the interaction. I like the technology, but you're right. I mean, it's important that we don't just become 100% involved with technology and computer day in, day out.
But I think it's fun for you because it's the storytelling, right? It has very little to do with the actual equipment. The equipment makes it easy. Yes. But it gives you a better chance to share your story. And I think that just is, it's powerful. It's human nature. You always want to tell your story, right? From the pictographs and petroglyphs all the way to now. I mean, everybody's been telling a story.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's powerful. You're right.
You're a poet, brother. You're a poet. I love that. That was great. No, seriously, 100%. That timeline, that visual timeline. People just sit down and think about that for a moment. You're right. I mean, we've always been storytellers,
right?
And this just makes it
super easy.
It's just super easy and so dramatic.
And you can share it with more people than ever.
And
I know I consume a ton of people's stories, and I like it.
Yeah. Well, and people can make money at it. I mean, Instagram doesn't monetize, right? From anything I've heard, but TikTok or YouTube, those that get viral.
Yeah. YouTubers, TikTokers, those are the folks that are, these are all these young
ads on I've never been on TikTok. Do they run ads on TikTok? Is that why they make money?
I don't know how exactly they make money, but they've got to. I'm sure they get agreements with. I've seen some that get agreements with like Walmart and big companies and stuff. But
so it's that model.
I think it is ad based.
I hear about TikTok millionaires all the time, so it's going on. I just wasn't sure how it worked.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it. I just get funny stuff sent to me by Mr. Harlan Cooper, and that's all. I try not to go down that vortex because it's a time suck too. I got sucked into it through that, and it's one of those where you can watch a couple videos and you think you've only watched a couple videos and you've lost an hour or two. And you're just like, holy moly. So yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't know anything about TikTok other than what my son sends me for giggles at this point anyway. But yeah, it's
you know what's funny though, just a side note. So I was trying to talk my daughter, Michaela, into getting on there. So I wanted to send her some funny videos, right? It's like, you got it. And she's been on there before, but she's smart enough that she won't go on there because she knows the time suck it is. So my 21-year-old daughter is teaching me.
It's
probably not a really good place to spend your time, Dad. And if you want to send me these videos, you can. You can save them and send them to me. And it's like, which makes it super easy, which also, from a content standpoint, is something that you got to be wary of too, right? If it's videos that you don't want to be floating out there for anybody and their dog, then you probably shouldn't be putting it on Reels and TikToks. But if you don't care, then whatever. But yeah, no, it was just interesting to me that she was telling me no. And I was like, well, why? It was kind of making me mad. And then she told me that. And I was like, oh, so you're being the adult here and I'm being the kid. I get it. Okay, fine.
So that's another time drain for the videos is if you do want to watermark it, and there are components that I do, then it's the time to put it through another app, right? Got to take a step back, put it through iWatermark app and put the watermark on it so it's there for the reel. And I know it can go anywhere, but at least people will know where it's from. Like if whoever one of us took it, it would show that and it can be traced back. And I don't believe, and I could stand to be corrected on this, that can't be altered. So that the watermark has to stay wherever it goes as well. So I think that's important to keep that. I mean, obviously there's some clips from an airplane or something that aren't that coveted that we need to watermark, and from my perspective, but the wildlife components I do.
Sure.
But that takes more time. It's another step back and another 3 minutes of editing per clip. So yeah. That's another subject too about editing. We're at, how are we for time? Do we want to do more?
No, I think we've hit it. We're at an hour 40.
We're only like halfway through what we were going to do today.
And we were worried about having enough content.
Adobe Camera Raw will wait for another day. Some workflow. We have more listener questions. Keep them coming in though. And on YouTube, when you're on YouTube and subscribing, thank you. Like I said, we're focusing more and more content that way. We appreciate the comments that come in there. And with these algorithms, for those of you that we appreciate supporting our podcast, the more you watch of each show, the better traction it gets for us. And if you let the ads play, that's helpful as well. If time permits in your busy lives and schedule, that's appreciated. And any thumbs up and reviews also help us to get traction and continue to support our efforts here. On that note, just a quick promotion out there. As we talked about before, Michael Mauro worked so hard on creating the Wild and Exposed store on our website at wildandexposed.com. It's great merchandise. We've tested it. We've ordered it in. We wear it. We love it. And if you are a fan of the show or would like to support us, that's another way that we greatly appreciate. You can also find our work on Instagram, on Facebook, and anything else, guys?
No,
Michael's taking a picture.
I think you covered it. Nailed it.
All right, everybody. Well, we appreciate you following along, your interactions. Until next time, you've been listening to Wild and Exposed Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
We got our windows down, driving down the 405, sing along to the radio. We're gonna make it someday, nothing's gonna get in our way. We will be the biggest band in town.